Let me tell you a truth that will rattle you to your foundations. Every woman does this, without exception. It doesn't matter how kind she was at the start, how much she professes to love you, or how ideal your partnership seemed. At some point, typically after many months or years, when you are most complacent, she will begin to test you. Not the playful little quizzes from the dating phase. I'm referring to something more profound, more instinctive, something that will decide the entire future of your relationship. You believe everything is stable. You believe your relationship has found its groove after those initial passionate months, or perhaps years. You've settled into a comfortable, predictable routine, into what feels like security. Then, without warning, she begins behaving in ways that seem irrational, ways that transform your peaceful existence into a war zone. And you're left standing there, baffled, asking what on earth happened to the woman you felt you understood. And here is the most difficult part to accept. She isn't even consciously aware she's doing it. This isn't a deliberate strategy. This is her subconscious mind, abruptly waking up and demanding, wait, who is this man I'm with? Is he truly as solid as I believed? Or have I been mistaken? The moment that question emerges in her subconscious, the testing commences. And if you don't comprehend what's occurring, you have already failed. Why does this not occur from the very beginning? Why does it start after you've been together for some time? Because initially, you were an enigma. You were unpredictable. You had your own life, your own mission, your own core confidence. But as time progresses, as you grow comfortable and begin prioritizing the relationship over your own identity, a change happens. You become predictable. You become safe. You become dependent. And that is the precise moment her subconscious starts questioning if you are the resilient man she believed she chose, or just another compliant man, pretending to be strong. This is the raw truth about how women perceive men. There are only two classifications in her subconscious mind: strong men and weak men, assertive men and passive men, leaders and followers. There is no middle territory, no ambiguity. You are either one or the other, and every single interaction, every reaction to her tests, is information her subconscious uses to classify you. The strong man, the assertive man, he has defined boundaries. He knows his own worth. He doesn't require her validation to make choices. He isn't frightened of conflict. He isn't frightened of her emotions. He isn't frightened of losing her, because his life is fulfilling with or without her. When she tests him, he doesn't even recognize it as a test, because maintaining his core confidence is simply his natural state. I observed this unfold with a friend. In his first year of marriage, he remained himself. He went to the gym, saw his friends, pursued his interests. His wife would sometimes protest, but he would handle it with calm assurance. I need this for my well-being, he would state, and that was the end of it. But gradually, the complaints intensified. You care more about the gym than me. Your friends are a higher priority than our marriage. Instead of holding his ground, he started to concede. First, he reduced gym days from 5 to 3, then to 2, then to only when she was occupied. Within 2 years, he had gained significant weight, lost contact with his friends, and his wife was visibly repulsed by him. Not because of the weight, but because he had become weak. He had failed every test by capitulating, and her subconscious had reclassified him from strong to weak. The weak man is the opposite. He needs her approval for every decision. He is terrified of upsetting her. He will sacrifice his principles, his boundaries, his very self just to avoid confrontation. He mistakes understanding for weakness. He mistakes love for self-sacrifice. He believes keeping her content is his primary duty. And every time he yields, every time he compromises, every time he chooses her emotions over his own integrity, he verifies what her subconscious suspects. He is weak. Here is what is truly contentious, truly difficult to accept. The more emotionally attached you become, the weaker you seem. I understand this contradicts everything you've been told about relationships. Show her you love her. Make her your main focus. Happy wife, happy life. But consider this. When you first met her, when she was most drawn to you, were you attached? Were you needy? Were you restructuring your entire world around her? No. You were self-sufficient. You had options. You could take her or leave her. And that is precisely what made you attractive. But now, You cannot picture life without her. Now you need her validation to feel worthwhile. Now her mood dictates your mood. Now her happiness is more important than your own. You think this is love, but in reality it is weakness. And her subconscious recognizes it. Her subconscious can smell it like fear. And once she detects that fear, that neediness, that attachment, the testing escalates. The testing begins subtly. She'll question a decision you made. She'll create a conflict over something trivial. She'll withdraw affection to see if you will pursue. She'll push a boundary to see if it is firm. And she is watching, always watching, to see how you react. Do you stand your ground or do you yield? Do you maintain your composure or do you enter her emotional state? Do you remain calm or do you get emotional? Most men fail these tests without ever realizing they were being tested. She creates drama and you attempt to resolve it with logic. You think if you just explain more clearly, if you just help her see reason, the issue will disappear. But the issue is not the surface problem. The surface problem is merely the test. The real question is, will you maintain your frame or will you be dragged into her emotional turmoil? Let me clarify what occurs in her subconscious when she senses weakness. It is not a conscious decision. She doesn't wake up thinking, I will test my man today. It's more profound than that. It's primal. It's biological. When her subconscious identifies weakness, it enters what I call verification mode. It begins to provoke, to push limits, to create drama, all to answer one question: is he truly weak? Or am I mistaken? This isn't malicious. It is an intrinsic part of female nature. Throughout human history, women needed to be with strong men for survival. Weak men meant danger for her and her children. So, her subconscious evolved this testing mechanism to continually confirm the strength of her partner. In modern times, the stakes are not life and death, but the programming remains. Let me describe exactly how men fail these tests. You will likely see yourself in some of these. When she creates drama, you respond with logic and reason. You believe you can negotiate your way out, explain your way to tranquility. But she doesn't want logic. Logic isn't the test. The test is whether you will be pulled into her frame or maintain your own. Or you respond with fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of her anger. Fear of losing her. So, you instantly apologize, instantly compromise, instantly surrender. You think you're being mature, being the bigger person. But what you're actually doing is demonstrating weakness. Every time you do this, you forfeit a piece of her respect that you can never reclaim. Then begins the cycle that ruins relationships. She provokes. You give in to maintain peace. She loses more respect and withdraws, perhaps to a mother's house, perhaps to a friend's, perhaps just emotionally. You panic and pursue. You apologize, promise to change, plead with her to return. She comes back, but not because you convinced her. She returns because the test is incomplete. She needs to see how much control she truly has, and the cycle repeats, each time rendering you weaker, more desperate, more easily controlled. I witnessed this with a friend, a successful businessman, confident in every aspect except with his wife. She would start arguments, threaten to leave, pack her bags. He would panic, flowers, jewelry, promises to improve. She would return, things would be calm for a few weeks, then the cycle would restart. After 3 years of this, he was a hollow man. Anxiety attacks, unable to make simple decisions without her approval, constantly tense. The man who once led board meetings was now afraid to choose a television show without her permission. And you know what happened next? She left him anyway. After all that compromising, all that yielding, all that sacrifice, she left him for a personal trainer at her gym, a man who earned a fraction of what my friend did, but who possessed one thing my friend had lost: core confidence. The trainer didn't care if she was upset. He didn't reorganize his life for her. He didn't need her approval, and her subconscious recognized strength and responded to it, despite her conscious mind knowing my friend was the more responsible choice. Perhaps you try to buy your way through the tests. You overwhelm her with attention, affection, gifts. You become a performer seeking her approval. Look how much I love you. Look how much I care. Please be happy. But the more you pursue, the more desperate you become, the weaker you appear. It is like bleeding in water, full of sharks and wondering why you're being bitten. Some men believe the solution is therapy. We need to communicate better. We need to work on our relationship. So, you attend couples counseling where you are encouraged to be more vulnerable, to share your feelings, to be more emotionally accessible. You cry in front of her. Confess your deepest fears, your insecurities. The therapist says, you're making breakthroughs. Your wife says, she values your honesty. 3 months later, she is involved with someone else. Because you have become so weak in her eyes that she is physically repulsed. Or maybe you try to involve others. Her family, your family, mutual friends. You think social pressure will make her behave correctly. But this only confirms that you cannot manage your own relationship. You need reinforcements. You are so weak that you cannot even handle your own partner without help from others.